Okay, so thank you so much. It's a very hard task to be the last one to speak after such a wealth of information. Many congratulations for these 2 days. What is fantastic is that you have really demonstrated how important are these objects that for so long were regarded as anecdotal. And thanks to also our 2 last papers, we see how much they are involved in today's life. And you mentioned the kitchen. I think the kitchen is a very important place in life as well. And we will see that it has also to do with children's life and the charms from Greece and Rome, because I will go back to the Greek and Roman world, but in dialogue with today and with anthropological perspective as well. In fact, for this last paper, I will address some more theoretical questions based on all we saw during these past sessions. That is, what do we do with amulets when they form assemblages, when they are part of kits or set? I don't know how to call them. Does their value change? Is it modified? And what do they tell us? They have a discourse, kind of symbolic discourse. Which discourse? Does it relate to a narrative, to a historiola? Do they construct a narrative, a new one? And their relation, of course, to the lived religious experience of the ancients. I will take two examples, 2 case studies. One Roman, because it is best documented for the Roman period, and the second one is Greek. The first one, I follow the age of the life cycle, is about teething and tooth rituals. That is from birth, let's say about 6 months for the baby, about 6 months old, until 2-3 years, and then losing the teeth. And we will see that there are some questions. So, and then, sorry, it's me, it's this thing changing too quickly, and then coming of age. So from the Parthenos, the unmarried girl, to the Nymphe, the girl to be married, and to the wife, the Gyne, who has delivered the child. Yes, so this was to remind you that when I started working on amulet, it was in the 90s. These kind of pictures were described as being, well, images, and nothing was really painted. It was just, yes, an image. And in fact, little by little, the objects have emerged, and we have seen how many objects exist. And so there is a string of amulets. They have various shapes. They are not detailed by the painter, because for the painter, something else is important. It is, for instance, as here, it's a divine child. It is Eriktonios, the future king, who is born from the earth, from Gaia, and presented by Gaia to Athena. He has amulets, though he's divine and painted white, so he's immortal. But on the other hand, it is a way to show an age. It is a way to show a status, a legitimate status. And on the right, you have Heracles, baby Heracles, killing the snake. Again, the amulets, they are indistinct, but they are a token, they are an attribute to show a specific age. But they also show the strength. They come to bring even more strength to this child. Very rarely do we see the details, and I show you an example, this marble copy of a Hellenistic statue of a boy with a string of amulet. It is now in the Vatican, and there you can see the details. So there is a leaf, a phylacterian tube, clover, dolphin, and what is fascinating, it is that all you see, we found, actually. And text also told us about these objects, but very, very rapidly, saying that it was given at the Dies Natalis, as says Plautus. So my first example is about teething. Why teething? Because it is a very serious topic. It has to do with life and death for the ancients. Hippocrates dedicates many treatises, and makes many remarks. In the aphorism, there is even a full treatise about teething. Why? I wrote it because it's interesting to see that it has to do, so teething must be protected. It is associated with breastfeeding, and that's why we call these teeth milk teeth. So this is something to think about until the weaning period. And then we have the second dentition, the fall of the teeth. So the example I take is from Roman Gaul, from Nîmes. It is a set, it is a kit of amber and bone amulets. So first two material, bone and amber, the tomb of a 1-year-old child. I relate it to modern proverbs to show you how important it is. It is not something simple to have a child crying because of teething. In the modern period, you have proverbs saying that you die of teething, an den Zahnen sterben, or soon toothed, soon with God. And in French, you had also the expression mourir des dents. So it's not something innocuous, it is something very serious. And so if you look at this set, I played at finding parallels. It's a game, of course, but maybe it works. And we have seen in the previous sessions how many different types of teeth were used. Here, in that case, there is a tooth from a horse. And indeed, Pliny speaks about it as the first teeth shed by a horse attached as an amulet to infants, facilitate dentition. And I think what is important is the same heals the same. So then I'm sure we can find something about the teeth of a dog, for instance, because dogs are also important in healing children. Now there is also a fish with amber and a rabbit. And guess what? In fact, Pliny also speaks about ashes of a dolphin's teeth mixed with honey is very good for the gums of children who are suffering from teething. And that it also protects children from sudden fright. And we know that fright is also something that has to be prevented because a frightened child no more eats properly, and then it goes on, can have a domino effect, and it dies. Hair is also important. And I have a little idea about the hair being perhaps the two fairies of the ancients, because the hair has big teeth, strong teeth. And maybe that's why that by rubbing the gums of infants with hare's brain, dentition is greatly facilitated. And you even have a fourth tooth on the bottom right. So it's a bone carved as a tooth. So we have a whole series in this tomb. This book is to show you how important it has been regarded, this moment. That's a doctor, 1836, he says he's a doctor of the poor in Berlin. And he writes this book about das schwere Zahlen der Kinder, to say that people come to him to say, my children are dying of teething. And he says, we have to consider that differently. They have diseases, and we must heal the diseases, not the teeth. But this is how it was seen. I will not elaborate on amber because many of you have addressed it very well and cited Pliny, the virtues of amber for children. What I find very interesting, I show you a set of amulets from Poitiers. There were even many beads in the shape. Again, we have the fish. Again, we have the rabbit, but we have also a bird. There were even many. For me, it's the question of continuity or discontinuity, because amber is still, as you know, worn for children and said to be good in a little bag, by the way. But what about the other things? And we can think, why did the other things not follow, such as on this painting of Velázquez, Philippe Prosper, who dies when he's only 4 years old, has also a bell on his dress, a bell, and he has also a horn, sort of horn. I don't know if it is jet or what. And this reminds us of this continuity with the Roman period, where we have even coins and rattling devices, and also the défense, so sort of teeth, big ones. So here we have a continuity, but with today, there is no more. So this is a question we can address. And what I've been looking for, and maybe you have ideas, is did the ancient have a tooth fairy or a little mouse? There are different traditions. If you speak of tooth mouse to an English-speaking person, they don't understand because they have a tooth fairy, not a mouse. And in fact, it is Madame d'Aulnoy who invents it. So it seems to be a modern story, 17th century, la bonne petite souris. And this is also known in Spain as Ratoncito Pérez, a book that was dedicated to the King of Spain, born in 1886. And it has to do, of course, with teething. Today, and I found it quite interesting, there is even a fusion, because you can have a fairy in the shape of a mouse with a little box. And the little box, maybe, as we will see, is what is a sort of continuity. I was wondering whether we would have jewelry made of these milk teeth. They were very precious in the Victorian time. Queen Victoria promoted this fashion. She had some jewelry with the teeth of her children, and you find 19th century rings with baby teeth. And I even found a website where you can order some if you feel like. But what about antiquity? Why is so little we know about it? The only thing I know is from Hierapolis, and I thank very much the people from the Italian archaeological mission who sent me this picture. It is from a collective tomb. So unfortunately, we don't know exactly who had these little elements. So in the bulla, there is a milk tooth. There is a milk tooth kept in the bulla. So if you find a milk tooth in a bulla, let me know. We will have a second one. But it's interesting because a bulla is a form of jewelry and you keep the milk tooth. Now let's go and see what happens with girls. And another moment, crucial moment in the life, so the passage from girls, from Parthenos to the maiden, the nymphe, to the wife, Gune. There is a string of miniature gold amulets from a tomb in Akanthus. Unfortunately, the bones were not kept, so we don't know exactly the age of the deceased. It happens, but a young individual anyway. What is interesting is that all the elements made of gold are at the same size. So whatever it represents, everything is put at the same size. And if we look more precisely at the different elements, we find this vocabulary. This is what I wanted to stress. There is a vocabulary. And here we find again the hand, we find the double axe, we find the phylacterian tube, and I don't know what it is. So if somebody has an idea, these two loops together, it looks like a magician tool, but it's not. It must be something else, but what, I don't know. There is also a shell here. And there is also a club. The Heracles Club. We know that Heracles is this powerful protector, guardians also of children and also of young women. And perhaps the knot of Heracles, I don't know what is this piece too, could be a form of knot of Heracles. To tell you new elements, new interpretation, this element here is usually interpreted as a pomegranate because it is associated with nuptial rites. You know that Kore eats a pomegranate in the underworld, and so she's forever married with Hades. But it could also be a poppy seed capsule, and poppy seed are very important for girls because it has sedative properties depending on what happens to her. And Sonia Klinger very recently has a paper about it, about the amulets in the sanctuary of Demeter and Kore, and you see the black and white picture is from her paper, and it's just out in Oxford 2024, open access. And she bases herself on Antonella Pautasso, La fille au pavot, with very interesting reflections about the relation between girls and poppy seed. And I find her demonstration quite convincing that this could be indeed a poppy seed. And then this set would be that of a girl. The head of Silenus is also interesting because Silenus is also a guardian of children. And then I think I found 3 toys. First, there is a spinning top, a miniature spinning top. For its metaphorical value, it's a skill game. It can allude to risk. It can allude to luck, to chance. And there is a knucklebone. You heard Barbara Carré talk about it, children's play, but it also the cattle, the family prosperity. It has also a divinatory dimension. And there is a tortoise, which could symbolize the girl, the woman. The woman should be like a tortoise, not move too much, just sit before her computer at home and not go to Lisbon to a conference. But it can also refer to a play, the play of a tortoise, where girls indeed play this role of being the one who is threading wool and is having children. So it can be both. So we have 3 toys, 3 miniature toys in this set. And this kind of set we find in other places. So I will not show you all because there are many. Thasos Necropolis, a set of silver amulets from a funerary pyre. This time we know this is a 12-year-old individual. You see again the tortoise, the cicada, an amber knucklebone here. With silver, frogs, and so that's the tortoise, and that's the frog that you see here. And this you can relate, of course, to Greek imaginary. In Greek imaginary, the clover can relate to the meadow, to the fertility of a meadow, that is the body of a girl to be married. Like the cicada, it is also called nymphe, because it is an insect that transforms, like the girl that will transform when she gets married. To show you this concept, just to show you variation, and one that we have not seen yet, or we have seen anthropomorphic figures, but this one is an articulated doll, a miniature articulated doll. I will not elaborate on that, we can discuss it later on. The second and my last example will be this beautiful pyxis in the Benaki Museum, and it gives me the opportunity to tell you that an exhibition just started now in the Benaki Museum in Athens about gold jewelry, and it will be in the exhibition as will be the polygyros necklace. What is extraordinary is that on one side you have a necklace, a marriage necklace. This is the real one, and this is the painted one. When we turn, we have on each side marriage earrings. And this is just to remind you that when we speak of amulet, we could speak of jewelry too, because, for instance, this is probably part of a marriage earring. There are two, I only show you one. You see all the material that is suspended. For me, it could even be a kind of spinning top. There are the dolls, there are the dancers at the marriage, and we find Nike or Eros playing knucklebones. And on the other side, you have a necklace with a set of amulets. So again, we have sort of a kit, and I will show you the elements of the kit. This is just what we saw. So the phylacterion, here is the clover, here is the cicada, there is a hand, the dolphin we find again, and we know that the dolphin is also a very special animal, friendly with humans and very sociable, and the crescent-shaped pendant, which is really a symbol that comes from Egypt, that is found in the Near East and goes on even until today. This is another pyxis. Which is in Würzburg, to show you that there are it changes it by itself, which is in Würzburg in the Martin von Wagner Museum. And it is interesting because you find the same device. On one side, the marriage necklace, on the sides, the earrings, and then the set of amulets. But this one is more simple, less elaborate. And this is just to remind you that, in fact, today we have much less, let's say, life passages, but there is a need to mark them with jewelry, and Pandora has understood it. And what is very interesting, it is that they have the same public, the same audience than the girls to be married in ancient Greece. These are young women ready to be married, or young mothers. And I just played to find elements that are found in Thasos and elsewhere: the tortoise, the snake, let's say it's a lunula, the clover, the frog, the fish. We find them all marking life today as they used marked life yesterday. And I finish with these slides to let you know that there will be 2 exhibitions in 2025 in Fribourg University. Welcome to Fribourg, to the Bibel und Orient Museum. The first one will be about the scarabs collection. It is a huge collection to feast Ottmar Kehl, who is the founder of this museum, 20 years of this museum. We will have also a case about magic, abracadabra, because we have a few items, and you will see items borrowed from Aventicum nearby. So the pendant with the evil eye, little bells, lunula, and knubis. And I remind you that there is a very good book, 1001 Amulets, which was connected with another exhibition in 2010, and we will produce, of course, another one for this one. And I thank you very, very much for your attention.